Hello friends, myself Dr. Khushboo, Associate Professor at SHARDA School of Pharmacy, Pethapur, Gandhinagar. Today I am going to discuss a very interesting topic and important topic, that is biosynthetic studies and basic metabolic pathways, that is specifically Shikimic acid pathway. This is one of the topic of the semester 5 Pharmacognosy and Phytochemistry 2 syllabus as per PCI. First of all, before the starting of the session, I just wanted to explain you what is the meaning of biosynthesis. So we all know that this biosynthesis is mainly composed of the two words. The first is the bio and second is the synthesis. So biosynthesis, it means that the living organism in which any synthesis is occur, then it is known as biosynthesis. If we want to know the definition, then biosynthesis is a process of forming a larger organic compound from the smaller subunit, but it is inside the living organism, and this process is mainly occurs with the help of enzymes. Now, as I told you that biosynthesis is mainly a process of the larger organic compounds which is formed from the smaller subunit. So it is also known as anabolism. Anabolism, it means that it is nothing but that the smaller subunits are joined together, or you can say the macromolecules are joined together with the help of enzyme, and it will going to form a larger compound which is known as biosynthesis, or which is also known as anabolism. And during this process, the light energy is converted into the chemical energy. We also all know that what is the photosynthesis. So the same process, that light energy is converted into the chemical energy, and with this process some of the energy molecules will be released by this biosynthetic process. Now, there are two main reactions, synthesis and biosynthesis. So, as I told you, we all know that biosynthesis, what is biosynthesis? But before the study of biosynthesis, we also know what is the meaning of synthesis. So, as the word synthesis, it means that we are talking about any process. But that process is mainly occur outside the living organism. So, it is known as synthesis. So, it refers that this formation of the macromolecules from the smaller molecules, but it is artificial. While in the biosynthesis, the same process is there, but this process is mainly occurs inside the living organism, and that is why it is known as biosynthesis. Now, if we are talking about process, then synthesis is artificial and chemical, while biosynthesis is biological and which is catalyzed by the enzyme. Now, whenever this synthesis is occur, in the result, the polymer, it may be organic or it may be inorganic or non-organic also. While in the biosynthesis, whatever the reaction or processes occur, at the end it will be biological and which is catalyzed by the enzymes. Now, the synthesis is process which occurs, as I told you, outside the living organism, while biosynthesis is occurs which is inside the living organism. So, this is the difference between biosynthesis and synthesis. Now, is this chapter is about metabolite synthesized processes. So, we know what is biosynthesis. Now, we also needs to know what is the meaning of metabolites. Now, metabolite, it means that these are the products or the intermediate products of the metabolism. In metabolism, it means it is nothing but any of the process or the chemical reactions which is occur inside the living organism. Specifically here we are talking about the plants. Okay, so the metabolites, which is the word, it means that if any metabolism reactions occur and whatever the intermediate and the end products are formed, which is known as metabolites. Okay, now the metabolites are mainly of two types. If we are talking about plants, the first, it is the primary metabolite, and the another one which is the secondary metabolites. Primary metabolite and secondary metabolite. So we are going to also know that what is the meaning of primary metabolite and what is the meaning of secondary metabolite. So primary metabolite, it means that these are the metabolites which is occur preliminary state. Whatever the process which is occurs inside the plants, and in that process is during the preliminary steps, the molecules are formed which is known as primary metabolites. is if I am giving you an example about the main primary reactions, that is the photosynthesis which is occurs inside the plants. So photosynthesis is the main reactions through which the primary metabolites are formed. At the end of the photosynthesis, the mainly sugar molecules, or you can say the carbohydrate or glucose, will be produced. So primary metabolites are nothing but these are the metabolites, or these are the molecules which is directly involved into the normal growth, development and the reproduction. As I told you, during the photosynthesis, lastly the glucose will be formed. So we are talking about glucose, but for the plants, that is the food. The food is synthesized with the help of photosynthesis. So this food is used for the normal growth, for the development of the plants and for the reproduction of plants. So whatever the primary metabolite which is produced by the plants, they are directly involved into the normal growth, development and the reproduction. While in the secondary metabolite, so secondary metabolites are not preliminary formed by the plants. So it is not directly involved in the direct normal growth, development and reproduction. But as I told you, whenever the primary metabolite is produced, as an example glucose or the carbohydrate which is utilized by the plants. After utilizing this carbohydrate, that carbohydrate which is utilized for the growth and development, and after the utilization some of the product will be formed, and they are nothing but they are the waste product of the plant, or you can say the excretory products of the plant, and that product are formed from the primary metabolites which are utilized by the plants for the growth and development. So that excretory product, or you can say the waste product which is produced from the primary metabolite, these are known as secondary metabolites of the plants. Now primary metabolites are not at all poisonous because it is required, it is compulsorily required for the growth and development, while these secondary metabolites are some of the compounds that are poisonous in the nature. Primary metabolites, as I told you, they are essential. Secondary metabolites are not essential, but there are some of the metabolites which give some of the extra benefits to the plants. As an example, alkaloids are one of the secondary metabolites. Alkaloids are very much toxic in a nature, or you can say they are poison in nature. So the plants are not at all utilizes their secondary metabolites. But alkaloid is an exceptional because alkaloids are the compounds, they are poisonous in nature, and that is why it protects the plants from their predators or from their prey. So this is how some of the secondary metabolites, it gives some of the extra benefits to the plants. If we are seeing about the examples, then primary metabolites are mainly the carbohydrate, as I told you, the food or glucose which is synthesized from the photosynthesis, fats and proteins, etc. They are the examples of primary metabolites. In the secondary metabolites, they are alkaloids, glycosides, resins and tannins, etc. Now, how these primary metabolites are formed, I already told you how the biosynthesis of primary metabolites which is produced from the plant. So, in the living organism or into the plant specifically, the primary metabolites are like sugar, amino acid, fatty acids and proteins. So, how they are manufactured or how they are biosynthesized? So, with the help of air, waters, mineral and sunlight, the photosynthesis occurs, and with the help of photosynthesis, the primary metabolites are the produced from the plants. Now, as we have already talked about what is metabolites, what is metabolism, and now we have to see what is the metabolic pathways. So, first of all, what is cell metabolism? So, cell metabolism, it means that it is the process by which the living organisms or living cells which going through some of the processes. So which is known as cell metabolism. Some of the process which is occur inside the cell, so it is known as cell metabolism. Another thing which is known as metabolic pathway. So what is metabolic pathway? Here we are talking about complete pathways. It means that there are some of the set of reactions which is occurs inside the living organism to grow, to reproduce, to maintain their structure and to respond to the environment. These are the different processes or these are the different functions. For there, some of the set of chemical reactions occurs inside the living organism, which is known as metabolic pathways. Now, for these metabolic pathways, it requires some of the energy to transport of the nutrients for the motility and for the maintenance of their structure. So, which is known as metabolic pathway. It means that this is the complete set of reactions which is occur inside the living organism. Now, as we have already studied what is anabolism, here there are two types of metabolic processes are occur. The one is the catabolism and another one is the anabolism. Catabolism, it means that there is some of the metabolic reactions occurs, and in that a larger molecules is degraded into a smaller subunits. As an example, when the glucose molecules is there, it will be degraded into the carbon dioxide, and there are some of the production of the energy to the cells. Another reactions which is completely opposite to the catabolism, which is anabolism. Anabolism, it means that a smaller molecules are combined together and it will be produced a larger molecules. Example, some of the glucose molecules are combined together and it will be going to form a glycogen which requires energy, while in the catabolism it releases the energy. These are some of the examples of major metabolic pathway which is occurs inside the plants, like cellular respiration, glycolysis, anaerobic respiration, Krebs cycle, HMG coenzyme A reductase pathway, pentose phosphate pathway, urea cycle. So numbers of different major metabolic pathways which is occurs or processized inside the plant. Now, what is the main importance of photosynthesis? How the photosynthesis will helps to form the primary metabolites. So, what is the mainly photosynthesis? So, photosynthesis is nothing but it is the process where the plants which is convert sunlight into the energy, and then it stored it as in carbohydrate, sugar, such as glucose molecules. Okay. Now, this photosynthesis is mainly occurs into the three different steps. The first is the energy is captured from the sunlight. After that, whatever the energy which is captured from the sunlight, that light energy, it converted into the chemical energy in the form of ATP and NADPH. These are the energy molecules. This chemical energy which is produced with the help of second step, they are used to power the synthesis of different organic molecules like carbohydrate from the carbon dioxide. So at the end of photosynthesis, some of the carbohydrate, or you can say the glucose molecules, will be formed. Now, once the glucose molecules or carbohydrate which is formed from the photosynthesis, they are utilized from the different type of synthesized pathway. So, this carbohydrate, in a simple way, I have already told you, this carbohydrate which is a glucose, which is nothing but they are the food. And this is the food which is used by the plants for their normal growth, development and the reproduction. So this carbohydrate in the plant, it is in the form of starch. And whenever the carbohydrate which is produced in the human being, which is in the form of glycogen. So these starch molecules, there are some of the chemical reaction will be occur, and these starch molecules, it's utilized by the plants, and some of the energy will be released from this photosynthesis or from this carbohydrate utilization, and it will be going to form a water molecules or carbon dioxide molecules, and at the end it will going to form a 38 different ATP energy molecules. Now, after the utilization of this carbohydrate, so this primary metabolites, which is the carbohydrate, which is utilized by the plants, and at the end of this carbohydrate utilization, they are going to form some of the secondary metabolites. As I told you that secondary metabolites are nothing but they are the waste products of the plants, which is produced after the utilization of primary metabolites by the plants for their growth and development. So this is the chart from where it shows that there is the carbon metabolism, and through some of the different steps, there are some of the biosynthetic pathways, and from that it will be going to form a different types of secondary metabolites. Here it is shown there is the Shikimic acid pathway, tricarboxylic acid pathway. This is the TCA cycle. then acetate mevalonate pathway, acetate malonate pathway, and at the end of this it will going to form alkaloids, phenolics, terpenoids, steroids, saponins, carotenoids. So these are the secondary metabolites which is produced by the utilization of carbohydrates by the carbon metabolism. Again, this is the another chart. With the help of flow chart we can able to understand this. First of all, carbon dioxide is there. With the help of them the photosynthesis will be occur. After the photosynthesis the carbohydrate will be formed, so that primary carbon metabolism will be occur, and through that the different biosynthetic process which is occurs inside the plants. At the end of that it shows in the rectangular shape, you can say at the end of the steps there are some of the secondary metabolites which is formed, which is known as alkaloid, glycosides, cyanogenic glycosides, flavonoids, coumarin, lignin, tannins, and some of the terpenoids compounds. Now we have already seen what is biosynthetic processes, what is biosynthesis, what is primary metabolites, and what is secondary metabolites. Now after understanding this all the things, with the help of three biosynthetic pathways the different types of secondary metabolites will be formed. So biosynthetic pathway, it means that it is a set of chemical reactions through which the plant will utilize the primary metabolites and it will be converted into the secondary metabolites. So that set of reactions are of different three types. The first is the Shikimic acid pathway, the second is the acetate mevalonate pathway, and the third one is the acetate malonate pathway. So in this presentation we are talking about the first pathway, that is the Shikimic acid pathway. Now what is Shikimic acid pathway? So first of all I am just going to give you an introduction that what is the Shikimic acid pathway. So Shikimic acid pathway, which is nothing but it is an anionic form of shikimate. Shikimate is the structure, and the anionic form of the shikimate which is known as Shikimic acid pathway. Okay, and this is nothing but it is the cyclohexane compound. Now from where this Shikimic acid name will come, why the name is given Shikimic acid pathway? So during the 1885, the scientist John Frederick Ekman has first time isolated the Shikimic acid from the Japanese flower, the name of the flower which is known as Shikimi, or you can say the Japanese star anise. So this is name of the flower from which the scientist has isolated some of the chemical structure and which is known as shikimic acid. Okay, and after this isolation, after the 50 years, the shikimic acid structure will be elucidated, and then the name is given that the shikimic acid, and that is why the name is given shikimic acid pathway. Okay. Now, on the Shikimic acid pathway, so first of all, it is nothing but it is the key intermediate between the as I told you, which is the carbohydrate utilization will be occur, and after that the different types of pathways will be there. So first of all, this carbohydrate which is biosynthesized in the phenyl propane derivatives, that is C6C3 unit. Now here the main two, whenever we are going to study about some of the pathway, we needs to remember what are the precursor, what are the intermediate, and what will be the end product of this pathway. So first of all, as it is the carbohydrate precursor derivative components pathway, so that is why the main precursor, you can say precursor, it means the starting material of this pathway, that is the pentose phosphate pathway. These are the aromatic amino acids. Now this is the Shikimic acid pathway. This Shikimic acid pathway is mainly derived into the different 7 steps. It is the 7 steps Shikimic acid pathway. So we are going to study each and every 7 steps in a detail. So first of all, this is the first step. You can say, see here this, there are the two main compounds, the phosphoenol pyruvic acid and the erythrophore phosphate. These are the two main precursor of the Shikimic acid pathway. You can say these are the two starting material. Now this phosphoenol pyruvate, which is comes from the phosphate pathway, and the erythrophore phosphate which is comes from the TCA cycle, and these are nothing but these are the primarily biosynthetic pathways which helps to produce the primary metabolites. These are the two precursor, which is the phosphoenol pyruvic acid, and another one is the erythrose 4-phosphate. Now these two compound, the reaction is catalyzed by the enzyme which is known as DAHP synthase, and with the help of this enzyme, this phosphoenol pyruvic acid and erythrose 4-phosphates are converted into the 2-keto 3-deoxy 7-phospho D-glucoheptonic acid. Okay, so it will be a second compound which is formed from the precursor of the Shikimic acid pathway. After this compound, it will be converted into the 3-dehydroquinic acid with the help of the enzyme DHQ synthase, which is the dehydroquinate synthase. This is the name of the enzyme which catalyzes the reaction, and it will be converted into the 3-dehydroquinic acid. And in this reaction, it required some of the energy molecules, that is the NAD, which is the nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, as an cofactor. After that, this 3-dehydroquinic acid, which is converted into the 3-dehydroshikimic acid by the enzyme 3-dehydroquinate dehydratase. Okay, so this 3-hydroquinic acid, which will be converted into the 3-dehydroshikimic acid. Now this 3-dehydroshikimic acid, the reduction will be occur, and it will be converted into the shikimic acid by the utilizing the energy molecules, which is the NADPH, which is the nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. Okay, which is act as an cofactor, or you can say the energy will be used by the reaction. The reduction will be occurred from the 3-dehydroshikimic acid to the shikimic acid. So this shikimic acid is nothing but it is the intermediate compound of this shikimic acid pathway. As I told you, the precursor are the phosphoenol pyruvic acid and erythrose 4-phosphate. Now the intermediate is the shikimic acid. So till the shikimic acid, half of the biosynthetic pathways will be occur. Now after the shikimic acid pathway, it will be converted into the shikimic acid 3-phosphate by the enzyme shikimate 3-phosphate. Okay, so shikimic acid 3-phosphate, which is produced from the shikimic acid by the catalyze or by the enzyme the shikimate 3-phosphate, which is the ATP dependent phosphorylation of the shikimate. Shikimic acid, it will be going through the phosphorylation, and after that it will be converted into the shikimic acid 3-phosphate, and after the again phosphorylation, this shikimic acid 3-phosphate, it will be converted into the chorismic acid with the help of enzyme EPSP. Okay, this is EPSP, that is the 5-enol pyruvyl shikimate 3-phosphate, which is known as EPSP synthase. Now this chorismic acid is the main compound through which the different types of amino acid will be produced. The shikimic acid pathway, the precursor are the phosphoenol pyruvic acid, erythrose 4-phosphate. The intermediate are nothing but intermediate is the shikimic acid. After that intermediate, the last will be the end product. So through the shikimic acid pathways, the end product are the 3 main amino acids. The first is the tryptophan, phenylalanine and tyrosine. Tryptophan, phenylalanine and tyrosine. Now this tyrosine and phenylalanine are nothing but these are the 2 essential amino acids. Essential amino acid, it means that these are the amino acid which is not synthesized in the human beings. We have to take it outside as a food. We have to take it as a food, so it will not deficient in our body. So this chorismic acid, it will be undergo some of the process, like it will be converted into the prephenic acid. The Clanson rearrangement reaction of this chorismate will be occur, and it will be converted into the phenylalanine and tyrosine. And in another side, the chorismic acid, it will be converted into the anthranylic acid, and after that it will be converted into the tryptophan. So at the end of the shikimic acid pathway, the 3 main amino acid will be produced or it will be synthesized, which is known as tryptophan, phenylalanine and the tyrosine. Now, what is the role of shikimic acid? As I have already told you, the shikimic acid pathway or any of this metabolic pathway, it will be going to end produce some of the secondary metabolites. But here we have seen that the end products are the three main amino acids like tryptophan, tyrosine and phenylalanine. Okay, these are the three amino acids. So what is the main role of shikimic acid? Why we need to study this shikimic acid? So this aromatic amino acid which is produced by these shikimic acids, they are the precursor of the different type of secondary metabolites. Okay, we have seen that it is already seen that the shikimic acid, it will be going to form the tyrosine, tryptophan and phenylalanine. These are the three amino acid which is produced. Now these three amino acid which is going to form a different types of secondary metabolites. In this chart, in this flow chart, I have already shown that tyrosine, it will be converted into the cinnamic acid. This phenylalanine, it will be undergo some of the process like comaric acid, ferulic acid. At the end, it will be going to form a lignin. This cinnamic acid is also converted into the flavonoid, which is nothing but it will be again converted into the condensed tannin. This is also a secondary metabolite. This tryptophan is converted into the alkaloids or indole 3-acetic acid. Alkaloid is again one of the secondary metabolites. The shikimic acid, it will be converted directly into the gallic acid. So this gallic acid is one of the example of tannins, and it will be converted into the hydrolysable tannins. The role of the shikimic acid is mainly from the primary metabolite or from the carbohydrate utilization. It will be converted into the three different amino acids, and at the end this amino acid, it will be converted into the different types of secondary metabolites. Again, there is one another chart for the role of the shikimic acid pathway. So, from the starting, from the glycolysis and pentose phosphate pathway, the erythrophosphate phosphate and phosphoenol pyroic acid will come. The shikimic acid pathway, it will be synthesized. The chorismic acid will be formed, and from the chorismic acid, tryptophan, tyrosine, and phenylalanine will be formed. And here it shows that tryptophan is converted into the what types of secondary metabolites, tyrosine is converted into the what type of secondary metabolites, and phenylalanine, it will be converted into the different types of secondary metabolites. So through this chart, we can able to write down that how the shikimic acid having the advantage and what are the main role of the shikimic acid. Okay, so it will be going to produce the different types of secondary metabolites. It will also going to form the indole metabolites. It is also helps to produce the different types of amino acids. So likewise, we can able to write down the different role of shikimic acid pathway. Now, here the uses of shikimic acid pathway. So, in the pharmaceutical industry, mainly this flower, or you can say this Japanese star anise, which is used for the production of the Tamiflu. We all know what is the Tamiflu, which is the one of the medicine which is used during the COVID time. So, that is the oseltamivir, which is the name of the compound in the market. It is known as Tamiflu. So, from the Tamiflu, which is used from the production of this star anise, which is the flower from which the shikimic acid is produced, that flower is used for the production of the Tamiflu drug. Now, another target of the shikimic acid pathway, it is mainly used to prepare the different types of antibiotics, which is used to treat the different types of diseases which is available in the market, because generally all the antibiotics which is available in the market, they are nothing but they are the secondary metabolites. Example, caffeine, atropine, quinine, these are the nothing but these are the alkaloid. There are some of the examples like glycoside, digitoxin. So these are nothing but they are the secondary metabolites which is synthesized by the plants, but they are having the different types of pharmacological, or you can say different types of therapeutic activity which is used to treat the different diseases or disorder. So main uses of shikimic acid pathway. With the help of shikimic acid pathway, we can able to know the different chain of the reaction through which we can able to isolate a specific compounds from the plants to utilize their therapeutic action on the living organism. So this is all about the shikimic acid pathway. So through which presentation we have already seen, you can able to understand the biosynthesis, what is biosynthetic process, what are the primary metabolite, what are the secondary metabolite, how this primary metabolite was used, and from that the different types of secondary metabolites will be produced, what are the different biosynthetic pathways through which the different secondary metabolites are produced, the three pathways, Shikimic acid pathway is acetate mevalonate pathway and acetate malonate pathway. And after this pathway, we have studied in a detail about the shikimic acid pathway. So I hope you understand everything. Thank you so much, everybody. Please subscribe, like, share and comment to our SHARDA YouTube channel. The link is already given here. Thank you once again, everyone. Thank you for listening.